Understanding Risk of Exposure, a guide for English language learners. Hello, everyone. Welcome to our English language learning series. Today, we're going to explore the meaning and usage of the phrase, risk of exposure. This is a common phrase in English, particularly in contexts involving health, safety, and information security. Understanding it will not only expand your vocabulary but also help you grasp important concepts in daily life. Risk of exposure consists of two main parts: risk and exposure. Risk refers to the possibility of something happening, usually something negative or undesirable. Exposure, in this context, means being in a situation where you are affected by something, like a disease, a chemical, or even information. So, when we combine these two words, we are talking about the possibility of coming into contact with something harmful or undesirable. Health and safety. In health and safety, risk of exposure often refers to the likelihood of coming into contact with harmful substances or conditions. For example, healthcare workers have a high risk of exposure to the virus. Wearing protective gear reduces your risk of exposure to hazardous chemicals. Information security. In the digital world, risk of exposure relates to the possibility of sensitive or private information becoming accessible to unauthorized people. For instance, there's a risk of exposure of personal data due to the security breach. Using strong passwords reduces your risk of exposure to cyber attacks. To help you understand better, let's look at some everyday examples. Due to the heavy pollution in the area, residents face a high risk of exposure to air pollutants. Travelers to tropical regions may have a risk of exposure to mosquito-borne diseases. It's also important to know how to use the phrase in a proactive sense. The company implemented new policies to reduce the risk of exposure to customer data leaks. Getting vaccinated can lower your risk of exposure to certain diseases. I hope this video has been helpful in understanding the phrase, risk of exposure, and how it's used in different contexts. Remember, learning English is about adding new phrases to your vocabulary and understanding their application in real-life situations. Stay tuned for more insightful lessons, and keep practicing.